Lagos, Nigeria, 2017. A quiet morning in Magodo Estate was shattered when police raided a mansion and arrested one of the most feared criminals in the country. Chukwudumeme Onwuamadike, better known as Evans the Kidnapper, was a man whose name sent shivers down the spines of Nigerians' wealthy elites. For years, he terrorized the nation, amassing millions of dollars through his criminal empire. But how did a small-town man rise to become one of Nigeria's most wanted criminals? What drove him to kidnap innocent people, chain them in dark rooms, and demand ransom that destroyed families? This is the full story of Evans the Kidnapper, a tale of ambition, greed, betrayal, and justice. Chukwudumeme Onwuamadike was born in Nnewi, a town known for its thriving business community. Growing up in a modest household, Evans' life seemed destined for simplicity. His father was a businessman, while his mother was a homemaker. As a child, Evans was described as quiet but clever. He excelled in school and often helped his father with small business errands. But even as a boy, he had a knack for getting what he wanted, whether through charm or manipulation. But tragedy struck early in his life. After his father lost a significant portion of his business, the family plugged into financial hardship. Evans dropped out of school and began hustling to support his family. Friends later recalled that this was when his attitude began to change. By the time he was in his teens, Evans had left Nnewi for Lagos, chasing dreams of success. Lagos, however, offered more than just opportunities. It offered temptations. In Lagos, Evans was introduced to the world of crime. He began as a small-time hustler, running errands for criminal gangs and earning a reputation as someone who could be trusted with dangerous tasks. Over time, his ambition grew, and so did his criminal resume. Evans eventually joined the gang of armed robbers, participating in several high-profile heists across the country. But robbery was risky, and Evans had bigger plans. He wanted a business that was lucrative and less exposed to shootouts with the police. That's when he discovered kidnapping. By 2006, Evans had assembled his own team of criminals. They began targeting wealthy businessmen and expatriates, abducting them in broad daylight and demanding ransom payments that could reach hundreds of thousands of dollars. For Evans, it was the perfect crime, high reward with low risk, as long as no one resisted. Evans' operations were meticulously planned. He didn't just rely on brute force. He used intelligence and strategy. His team would spend weeks, sometimes months, studying their targets. They bribed domestic staff, drivers, and even security guards to gather information about their victims. One of his victims, a prominent businessman, recounted how Evans' men had followed him for weeks before striking. They knew everything about me, my routine, my family, even where I kept my money, the victim said. Evans' gang operated with military precision. Their victims were often taken to secluded locations, blindfolded and chained. Ransom negotiations were brutal and unrelenting. Evans had no mercy. He would threaten families, even children, to ensure payments were made. While his victims suffered in silence, Evans lived like a king. He owned multiple mansions in Lagos and a property in South Africa and a fleet of luxury cars. His wealth was flaunted in plain sight, yet he remained untouchable. To his neighbors, Evans appeared to be a legitimate businessman. He hosted lavish parties, donated to local causes, and even sent his children to expensive private schools. But behind closed doors, his empire was built on pain and suffering. One of Evans' most infamous kidnappings involved Donatus Dunu, a wealthy businessman. Donatus was abducted in 2016 and held captive for 2 months. His family struggled to raise the ransom, and Evans demanded over $1 million. Donatus eventually escaped when his captors became careless, leading to a public outcry and increased pressure on the police to capture Evans. Another victim, a doctor, described the psychological torment of being held in darkness with only the sound of captors. Every day, I thought it would be my last day, he said. Evans' downfall began with the creation of a special anti-kidnapping task force led by ACP Abakiari. The team worked tirelessly to track Evans' movements. Using informants and advanced surveillance techniques, they finally discovered his hideout in Magodo Estates. The raid was swift and decisive. Evans tried to escape but was cornered and arrested. The man who had evaded justice for over a decade was finally in custody. Evans' trial became a media sensation. He pleaded not guilty, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. His victims' testimonies painted a chilling picture of his crime. In 2022, Evans was sentenced to life imprisonment. For some, his conviction was a victory. For others, it raised deeper questions about the system that allowed him to strive for so long. Evans' story is more than just a crime tale. It's a reflection of the systematic corruption, poverty, and inequality that fuel such criminal empires. His case reminded us that the fight against crime requires not just arrest, but systematic change. What do you think? Was Evans' sentence justice served? And what lesson can we learn from this story? Let us know in the comments below. If you want more gripping stories like this, hit the like button, subscribe and turn on notifications. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.